Is spooky television bad for children? A good question to ask with Elisabeth, queen of some of the scariest TV ever made, sitting on the panel. 70% of parents said their children had nightmares after watching programmes like Doctor Who and Primeval and the Ben 10 cartoon. So why do you let them watch them? Is it for the fun of seeing your children hide behind the sofa? What's strange is that more than 200 of you complained about the government's latest climate change ad, the one, you know, with the drowning cartoon puppy. Yeah. You felt that was too upsetting for kids, but that's like soaking in a warm bath with matey compared to some episodes of Doctor Who I've seen. Oh, I'm not joking. I'm 28 and I'm still traumatised by He who laughs loudest. I'm still traumatised by Doctor Who and the Green Death, and I saw that well over 35 years ago. An American health think tank found some kids start to believe the world is a scary place and something bad will happen to them after exposure to scary films. But surely this must all depend on the age of the child, what mum and dad think the child can handle. Maybe kids need to experience a bit of fear nice and early so they can deal with it in later life. Dr. Andy Field from Sussex University, he reckons fear is a normal part of growing up for children, which might explain the popularity of books like Roald Dahl's Witches, The Twits and Matilda, where the kids always end up spooked. Is it the same for television? Is spooky TV bad for children or possibly good for them? Elisabeth.
When I was young, I was read Jemima Puddle Duck by Beatrix Potter a lot, and there was a wolf in that, and I was very frightened of that wolf because he had a wolf's head but a man's body jacket. So I think there's a barrier you have to go through as a child where fear must be supported, and it is healthy. You can't just come to the news and the real fear and hear about a tsunami straight in or someone being killed.
Good point.
And Doctor Who, I can really only talk about my programme, Sarah Jane and Doctor Who. It is safe fear. It is about heroes. There is good, there's evil, good wins. Yeah. It is supported, and there are very, very responsible people on these programmes that do not step over the line into horror. Russell on Breakfast.
Do you have an age of your viewer in mind about who you're...
Sarah Jane is 8 to 9-year-olds, but I have letters from dads who've written for 3-year-olds, and there's Elsie Price in Swansea who's 92. So, you have to make him...
Because what I find fascinating is mum and dads aren't always there when children are watching TV. And I was telling you during the break, my godchildren is, he's 5 and he's got an older brother of 9. And I knew that my godson was he was traumatised by things like the Gringotts bankers in Harry Potter, if I've got that right, and some of the Doctor Who stuff. And as soon as he saw them, he was scared. So his 9-year-old brother, who loves this stuff, has now started to censor his own TV viewing so that he doesn't let his little brother expose this stuff. So, which I think shows the value, perhaps, that how something that's, you know, the scare can bring people together.
And do you know what Doctor Who is also about? It is allowing someone to be a hero who is different. Yeah. You don't have to follow the crowd. Someone who can stand up and say, well, it's all right. You see, there you go. You're allowed to be different. And he's a hero, and we need heroes.
Hardeep Singh Kohli, the next Doctor Who.
Yes, you're allowed to be different. Do you know, we've got some way to go.
Why not?
Before I get... Well, do you know,
go on.
It'll be the first time there was actually, you know, an Indian doctor. Goodness gracious me.
What about your little ones? Were they perturbed or scared?
Well, they weren't scared by Doctor Who, but I think what's really interesting is I watched the Cybermen from behind the couch, many. And there's something about, you know, because we weren't intelligent enough as kids to work out that the Daleks invading the planet could never get beyond the ground floor. So we weren't the brightest. I think it's hugely important to have your parameters tested as a child, and fear is an important part of growing up. Right. But equally, everyone knows, I think, that films, like properly scary films like The Evil Dead and stuff that we tried to watch as kids, were much less scary than things like The Shining, which is kind of psychologically...
Horror,
And I still get... I can't watch The Shining on my own. I'm 40 years old, and I can't watch The Shining on my own.
As old as that?
I am. I'm not 28 like you. And I want to see your expenses. But I think if we don't work out what we're scared of and not scared of, then I think, as Elisabeth says, we kind of find ourselves swimming in a sea of ignorance, actually.
Did you go along with that, Gemma?
Well, I think it's a good thing, but I mean, obviously, being the oldest of 5 children, I mean, I've got my youngest sister's 12, and you know, she watched a film the other day, and she has had sleepless nights for a week. You know, it's something. I think there's got to be limits, and I think like you say, you test the boundaries. But I think that you can get scarred as a child for things in your older life. You know, like I mentioned earlier about having a spider put in my hair. It's not a scary film,
yeah.
but now, if a spider was there, I'd be fine. But if it touched my skin, I would literally panic. And that is, and I'm not scared of any other creepy crawlies.
You're braver than I am.
Well, but you know what I mean. And I just think that, you know, I mean, you mentioned The Witches. The Witches is something that has scared me when I was a child. I watched it I was about 7 or 8. And now things like vampires and things like that have funny eyes. I won't watch anything like that. You know, it's something that did affect me.
But now you're old enough to choose.
Yes.
And really...
So you make judgments.
That is
and-
safe fear.
Safe fear?
It's safe fear.
Yeah, no, I suppose I see. Yeah, it is.
I think what Elisabeth's alluding to is this notion of a return to the status quo. Whatever happens to Doctor Who, you know at the end, everything's going to be all right. Now, however many episodes it takes to get to everything being all right again,
So
it is safe fear. It's a very interesting point.
But then when you're watching things like Child's Play or Chucky, you know, things like that, or It, the Clown, and things, you know, there isn't really any good endings, so it's kind of very scary.
We've now just given them a free advert for all the really scary films.
Let's throw it open to you. I mean, there are lots of issues about the age of the children where they watch it on your own. I do find it fascinating. The Finnish study found that children are more frightened when they watch with their parents. I think that's fascinating. Let's find out what you have to say about scary TV. Kirsty?
First, we have Diane on line 1.
Diane, good morning.
Morning, Matthew.
Scary TV, maybe a good thing?
No, not really. My son's 6 and I vet everything that he watches. Absolutely everything. He doesn't watch things like EastEnders, Hollyoaks, and I love Hollyoaks and EastEnders, but no, I won't let him watch them. They've got too many adult issues, and I believe he's got too much going on in his life, even at 6. Just crossing the road, he should be concentrating on things like that.
But come on, some scary things. I mean, my first trauma was the child catcher, in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Now,
yes.
I mean, that look with the finger and the sweet van that turns into the prison, terrifying. Put me off children for life, Diane.
And you don't eat sweets either, do you?
I don't eat sweets. If it wasn't for that, I was scared of horses. I, too, would ride around town. No, I wouldn't. But maybe sometimes fear is a good thing. It warned me. I mean, that did more to me than any Stranger Danger campaign ever would.
Yeah, I agree with that, but we don't have things like that on TV anymore, do we? Or, you know, available to kids.
It was on
It's
TV
not like
only the other week,
into,
Diane.
Like, a moral issue of, do you go with that stranger, don't you? There's nothing like that.
It was on TV only the other week, because I watched it again, and I was scared again. Thank you for the call. Let's have another.
We have Lisa on line 2.
Lisa, good morning.
Morning.
Maybe kids love scary stuff. What do you think, Lisa?
Well, I mean, I'm still traumatised at the age of 39 through a Hammer House film. My parents let me sit and watch that, and that still affects me now. I'm absolutely petrified of the dark.
I need to know which one, because most of those I never found scary at all.
I think it was. I do remember a children's television birthday. I mean, a children's birthday party. Central heating pipes went, and blood splurted.
Yes. Oh, yeah, the haunted house one, yeah.
And butcher's shop and liver moving across the butcher's slab.
Right. So you're scared.
Shops anymore.
You're scared. What about your children, Lisa?
Oh, they love it. They love anything gory. I did take my youngest at the time, I think he was about 6, I had free tickets to go and see Jurassic Park 3, and he absolutely screamed the cinema down. I made him hide under a coat because I wanted to watch it.
I do, because it's fascinating, because we're thinking sometimes about sort of grown-up stuff that kids get exposed to. I always forget the name of this. What was the one with the girl who was stuck in her bedroom and she did the drawings of the stones that were outside, and the stones breathed and ate and scary? Do you remember that one? No, I'm looking like I'm mad.
See, when my son was 12, a few of his mates came around, they watched The Others, which was a certificate 12. I had to leave the room. So I left a bunch of 12-year-olds watching this film, and that...
Is this a sign that... OK, so let's flip that around. Is this a sign of that they are desensitised?
No, I just think I'm a bit of a...
Scaredy cat?
Yes.
All in the audience, I just heard, worst scaredy cat, yellow, coward...
I'll still take you on in a fight any day of the week, sunshine.
Lisa, thank you. Let's have another.
We have Tom, and he's on line 3.
Tom, is there any benefit from scary TV, spooky TV?
To some extent, Matthew, there is, yes.
Go on.
I mean, you've got to accept that part of life is having to deal with fear.
Yeah.
And And I mean, at some point in time, a child has got to learn to deal with that.
Yeah.
Because it prepares them better for later in life.
I mean, at any moment, you could accidentally lean on the ITV button now and see Jeremy Kyle, so you're quite right. There's some terrifying nonsense out there.
I must admit, I did try to phone the Kyle show.
No! Close call, Tom. So...
Anyway, no. I mean, I remember as a kid being very frightened by things like Doctor Who and that, but then you kind of sort of build up your tolerance to fear, as it were. So, I mean, I remember when I was a teenager being very frightened by the first fight I ever saw in a pub. And then, as a 20-year-old, I remember being very frightened by my first credit card statement.
It's funny, because watching Elisabeth's scene of the wedding, that's something that frightens me, actually, weddings. I don't know why. I don't know why. Weddings and scenes of childbirth.